from beyond our dimension, this is the Jeff Mara Podcast. Here's Jeff.
What's up, everybody? Happy Saturday to you. And if you're on the other side of the planet, happy Sunday to you. And if you're in Scotland, like Elad MacLeod, happy late night to you. Actually, I don't know. Is it Sunday in Scotland? Could be. I'm not sure. All right, so we have a busy night for you guys tonight. I hope everything's running smoothly. It looks like it's working. I never know until I have, look down at the chat, and then if something's not happening, you guys will let me know. But it looks like everything's going okay. And we have two guests tonight. One of them for sure has had an NDE, and another one has had an NDE or an NDE-like experience. It's a guest I've never met before, and we'll find out about his experience tonight. So, let's see what is going on. We'll just tell you real quickly before we bring in our first guest. Kind of adjust this music there and see what's down below. Oh, I messed that up. Darn. It figures I forgot something to tell you who the guests are. Let me see if I can fix that real quick, because I still have last week's of who the guests are in the description below. So let me add that real quick, and then we'll bring in our first guest. And we'll go from there. By the way, also in the description below is a link to my Facebook page. If you'd like to friend me on Facebook, you'll see that my last name is Reynolds. Mara is my beloved wife. Also, there is our Jeff Mara Podcast Facebook page. There's an NDE Clips video channel, music channel, a cooking channel, and that's about it. All right, that's all saved there. Let me get back to seeing you guys in the chat so I can see you guys there in the chat, and then we'll be ready to go. I think that's going to be all set up. And we've got 114 people here, so we've got enough people to bring in our first guest. And good, there we are. All right, so let me pull my notes up about her before we bring it in. Now, her name is Ellen Weir, and she was a guest a long time ago. A long time ago. She was in podcast number 237, and we're at 1070, I think. And so that's like probably over 2 years ago. And so let's bring her in. And I'll tell you all about her. Okay, participants, here she is. And she's joining. While she's joining, her name is Ellen Weir, transformative healer and music therapist that began her life's mission after a near-death experience at age 12. Ellen, great to see you again. It's been about 2 years. Welcome back.
Thank you. It's so great. It's great to be back here. Thank you.
It's great to have you. What have you been doing these past 2 years?
Well, I've been developing my private practice, doing more public workshops. I was recently in a movie called Beyond the Grave, a documentary that won
Wow.
best paranormal film of 2023. It came out in September, and I shared my near-death experience there.
Mm-hmm. Where could you see that?
You can see it anywhere that's streaming. It's on Amazon. It came out last year, and it's a fascinating look at what happens after death.
Yes.
And I've been writing a book, a teaching memoir about my near-death experience called Beyond the Waking Up in Heaven. Waking
Wow.
Up in Heaven.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
When is your book coming out?
Should be out in a couple weeks, actually. I have the
Awesome.
link information on my website. So
Alrighty. Is it up for pre-order?
I've got a wait list that I do, and people can sign up so they'll get an email the minute that it's ready and out for sale. I just finished the cover the other day, and it's so beautiful. It actually is a depiction of what I saw and what I will explain today.
Cool.
And the pink clouds and the raft and everything. Yeah.
Sweet. Sweet. So once it's out, let me know, and then I can put a link to it, and I can come back to this podcast and put a link to it
That'd be amazing.
so
Thank
people
you.
can find it. Now, all right. Well, like I said, you were podcast number 270, what? 270, 237. So that
237.
means
Yep.
it's been or at least probably 2 years since I've had you on, and I probably was at, let's say I was at 40,000 subscribers, so I've gained about 100,000 more, and
Mhm.
maybe the majority of these people don't even know you, so
Oh,
or
nice
haven't
to meet everyone, and
watched. Thank
congratulations.
you. So if you don't mind, can we just do a review and start with your NDE and what happened?
Yes. Oh, yes. Well, I was 12 years old. I'm a childhood experiencer, and I used to love to ride horses. And when I went in to ride horses on this particular day, they didn't fasten the cinch tight enough. And so it slipped when I was riding, and the horse kicked me in the temple. I was riding for a bit, but it reared up and kicked me in the temple. I was taken to a local hospital in Texas, and then later sent to Waco, Texas, because they had a better neurology team. I was in a coma, and at the time, the neurology team told my parents to play music at my bedside or to play movies at my bedside to try and stimulate my mind. So, on the particular day that I had my near death experience, they were playing a movie that was mostly music. And that is pretty important because the music is what brought me out of the coma and also the reason I chose to come back. So, the horse kicked me in the head in the temple. And what I remember was I found myself on a raft with pink clouds on each side. And I was there with Ascended Master Jesus was in front of me. And then there was a man on my left who was bald and had long brown robes on and bare feet. And I felt very safe and I felt very protected and kind of greeted in that place. And then I left that place and felt like I ascended into a couple other realms. First, I saw a glimpse of this very white space with kind of um, different colored water and trees. And then I was taken into the golden light. And the golden light is where I merged with the light. So I felt the fullness and the beauty and the love. I had no body, but there was this weighted, full energy. And I felt it first and then just became this beautiful light. And in that place, there was no name for it. It was just love. It was absolute unconditional love. I melted into it. I became it. And it was the
Let me,
most beautiful.
I'm so
Yeah.
sorry. Let me stop you for 1 second because I was adjusting it earlier with your sound and I
Oh,
thought I adjusted it loud enough. And let me just kind of keep an eye on it here because somebody said they can't hear you that well.
oh my goodness. Of course.
Just
Yeah.
say, just let me, I think I can pull it up here just a little bit. Sorry to interrupt you, but I don't want
Oh,
anybody
no.
to miss anything. All right, go ahead and keep going. If you, I hope I didn't, I hope you remember where you were at.
Hopefully that's a little better, but if it's not, please let us know and tell me again.
Mhm.
Absolutely. So, in that place of golden light and love, I was whole and complete, absolutely complete. And I felt that that was reality, and that this is an illusion. And I'll talk more about that later. But after becoming the light, I went back to the raft. And at that point, Jesus could communicate with me through thoughts. And I was given the choice about whether I wanted to stay or I wanted to live my life. And and I found in the years since talking with you that this is typical for experiencers to sometimes see a life um, projection when they're given the choice. I didn't know this at the time, but I wanted to stay on the other side because I felt it was where I belonged and it was the reality and it was so much love. And I was shown in a moment the lives of my family and how they would be affected if I chose to stay. There was no right or wrong at all in any way, shape, or form. I could have chosen to stay. I could have chosen to come back. And in that moment, I didn't have human consciousness. It's not like I was thinking about, oh, here's what my life's going to look like. It wasn't that at all. In my whole and complete presence, I chose to live. And in that moment, I was given human feeling. And when I chose to live, I was flooded with gratitude because I knew that it was a gift to live and to get to come back here. And then I was flooded with all of these messages about why we're here now, and that everything happens for a reason, and that we're all meant to come together, and this is the time, coming back for this time right now where we are, for this. Oh, it's just the most beautiful messages came through, right? That most of what we worry about on earth, that doesn't matter. It's a distraction from our own higher knowing and our own higher presence, right? Our God presence, which is within. So when I made that choice and I was feeling gratitude, I made a vow. I said, I will give thanks every day that I get to be alive, that I get to come back and do this. And I knew it was a gift. I knew. And then I said, I want to go back and heal people with music. And that's when it got really cool, because the next part was that I left and I went into darkness. And I'm assuming it was the darkness of the coma or somewhere else. It was a beautiful place. It wasn't, I mean, I felt very protected. I saw music staff in the distance and kind of animated like you see. There was a different color note.
Uh-oh. I hope she's still there. Let me know if I'm still here. I'm still here, but we'll see if she's still here. And by the way,
Just inaudible sandprick of light as well. And I focused so hard on that sound. That was what I believe was bringing me back into my body. And as I focused, I just pulled it into consciousness louder and louder until it was booming in my head. And all I could do was force my eyes open. And I was in the ICU, and a nurse came over, and I had come out of the coma. There was a music playing. There's a movie playing at my bedside on one of those old carts that they used to cart in at the end of the 80s. I could see the ICU, curtain on the bed across from me. And then I fell out of consciousness again. So that awakening was magical in itself. But when I realized who the man in the brown robes was, when I chose my career, music therapy, because I knew I was coming back to heal people with music, or to help people heal. I don't want to call myself a healer. I think each person is their own healer and can access that on their own. And that is what my work is about now. It's about helping people to receive their own messages, their own connection to their presence through my work. And I'll pause there because I want to tell you how I came into the work that I do, because it was full circle back to my NDE.
now don't you have a degree in psychology?
I do. I wanted to go into music therapy for grad school. I did undergrad was performance. I really healed my brain through playing music. And that was my outlet. I came back and I just started playing and played all the time. But then when I decided to go to grad school, my dad said, if you're going to do music therapy, I'd like you to get a backup degree. And there were two universities that had a dual master's in psychology and music. And one of them was Naropa University, which is a Buddhist university in Boulder. And when I was walking up to meditation class, the first week or two that I was there, I saw a depiction of Buddha, and he was bald and he was thinner than what we think of the big rounded belly Buddha. And he had long brown robes on. And I knew that that was the man who was next to me on the raft. I knew it at once. And I knew that I was going to find my how. And so I focused on contemplative practices and being presence and breath, and trained in breath work, and I became very well, into the program for psychology, right? So transpersonal psychology is spiritual psychology. It's accessing that higher realm through the work that these therapists do. And I was introduced to a process called Bonnie method of guided imagery and music. It's a process where people enter altered states of consciousness and listen to classical music programs that take their mind to access different levels of consciousness. And in that process, I came closest that I'd ever been to heaven. And I realized I'm going to do this work. They also teach people how to do plant medicine journeys at Naropa. It's a fully accredited university grad school, and it's amazing. We call it the Hogwarts of human world. And but this process, the Bonnie method, it simulates the same parts of the brains that are lit up through plant medicine journeys, but it's done through music programs, so it's non-psychotropic. So I was able to use that, and then I talk about this in the book, like how I came into these other practices at high frequency modalities, like the crystal singing bowls, of which I have one with me here. Oh, and I knocked something down on the ground. Sorry.
I didn't hear anything, so I think you're okay.
Oh, that's good. But that's my crystal singing bowl. And I use that to help people move out of the mind and into the body. And then I use some tools that they gave me on the other side, using color, light, and sound to bring this induction of light into people's body. Because since we met 2 years ago, I've learned so much about the points of light that we have within us, and that we are vibration, and the center of every cell is not empty, it is vibration. So when we bring this vibration through and we consciously speak light into our cells, we move into a state of pure connection with the divine. And through that process, and then moving into the music programs, people can access loved ones that have passed, messages that they need to know. And what's beautiful is that I receive messages. Yes, I do. I have since I came back. But people can access those messages directly for themselves, feel the light, feel the love, and I get to just hold space and teach them to go deeper into that process of, release, surrender, have faith. And so that's my full circle. And I talk about the whole process, and it's very much around intention and prayer and light, love, color, sound, all of these things. And then, of course, divine downloads, downloads that I receive because I'm constantly guided and connected to my presence. And I came back with that knowing, as many near-death experiencers do, we come back with a very powerful connection to messages. And many people do without a near-death experience. Spiritually transformative experiences can do that as well, such as, something where you do meet with your presence and you do get to connect. There are ways to cultivate that. And so, yeah, so my book is about how I came up with that process and how people can develop their own intuition through the mystical things that happened to me after my near-death experience that show me that I'm still, and we all are still connected. So.
Well, I'm going to let the audience be me tonight, and they're going to ask you questions as well. And I've already got a couple. And the first one is, did you feel sort of like an alien when you came back to life?
Yeah, I mean, when I came back, I didn't have a memory of anything that had happened before. Um, I didn't remember birthdays and childhood memories that most people do, Christmases and things like that. So I even didn't remember names in my family. So I really had to fake it till I make it, I guess you say. I knew I was grateful to be alive, and I knew the greater message and the greater meaning for me being here. And so I talk about this in my book, that I really did need to integrate for many years back onto this earth plane. And still to this day, I feel more comfortable, moving into spiritual work on the other side sometimes than I do on this earth. But I am finding through my practices and expansion and learning that I can receive the same type of messages through the earth plane. Like, for instance, I came back with this skill of being able to feel music on different parts of my body. So different notes will resonate different parts of my spine and shoulders. Different instruments will resonate different parts of my body. And I remember when I was in Hawaii leading a retreat, I could hear the birds and they would resonate my body. And that was the first time I'd done that. So my goal was to try and feel nature in the same way that I felt music when I came back
Can I stop you
And
for
I,
1 second?
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
do you think that those certain notes that work on your part of body, like if you play a C, it works on your spine or whatever, does
yeah.
that work? Is that the same for everybody's body or just
I
yours?
I think it is. I think everyone can access that with practice. And I do think different notes do resonate different parts of the body, but the most important thing about bringing in sound, color, and light is that vibration. And I can teach people to do it as well right now. And what I found out in Hawaii that I was kind of moving towards the end of that little story is that I sat by the beach to try and get the waves to feel me. I could feel the waves and I just couldn't get the waves to, I was meditating, I was releasing to source, I was releasing expectation. And then I asked my presence, what can I do? And my presence said, expand your awareness to your emotional body that's outside of the human body. So right outside the human body, we have another layer of energetic field. So when I sat there in meditation, expanded my awareness to this energetic field, then I could actually feel it in my body the way that I feel music. And we can all do this. We know this in live music, right? But yes, this is something we can all teach ourselves to do. And it's amazing. It's like being immersed in the tapestry of creation and vibration. It is amazing to feel. So, yes, thank you for asking that.
That's great. All right. Let me. What are your thoughts on reincarnation? Is it real?
I absolutely believe that it is real. I don't know what I thought before because I don't remember, but I came back with a knowing of many things, and that was one of them. And since then, I've had some past life memories that showed me that I had died by a head injury in many other lifetimes, and even showed me on a horse with a head gunshot to the head. Um, and then I was told that this life is the life that I get to come back and use that story to help others, to help bring awareness to the fact that we are not alone, that we are always held and protected. So yeah, I definitely do believe in that.
All right. Let me ask this one. This person heard that the Thai Buddha is not fat. Chinese have
Oh,
portrayed him that way. Did the Buddha
wow.
that you encountered mention anything or, communicate about that?
Oh, the Buddha that I encountered, I didn't get to communicate with him when I was there. However, he's come to me in visions many times, and he was thin in my near death experience, which is why I don't think I recognized him until I went to Naropa, which is was founded by the Dalai Lama, and very much has a Buddhist philosophy about contemplative and presence in the middle way. Um, but one time he did come to me with a sign on his forehead, and I reached out to my mentor and I said, "What does this sign mean?" And I think it might be interesting to someone who's here. For a year, she said, "You're not ready to know what this sign means." I talk about my mentor in this book. She's amazing. She knows things I don't even know how she knows. But I, at the time, was learning to access my presence. And every day I was inviting my presence to move into my body and experience the human plane through my eyes and my smell and my sense of hearing. Because everything that we do is an opportunity to allow source to live through us. And that is the co-creative energy that we get to access when we create our life. Because we don't have to live in suffering and we don't have to live in strife and contrast, though the contrast helps us learn the lessons we came here to learn, right? But all for a year, I was just calling in my presence every day. Please come in and live through me, experience life through me, experience art, experience music, experience this work, experience the light, experience the contrast, right? And then over the course of a year, I called her and I said, something happened. I don't need to call my presence in anymore. I am living in my presence. And she said to me, and I had almost like forgotten about that talk with her. And she said, that's what the symbol means. And the whole way, I just, it's like we get to live in our presence, and that allows God to act through us and source. Oh, it's just beautiful. And hopefully that resonates with someone.
All right. My next question for you is, did you start receiving downloads as a direct result of your NDE?
It has to be, because I don't remember prior to that, but I was receiving downloads, but I didn't know how to integrate them into the world. And a lot of people didn't understand, and a lot of people didn't believe me. So I learned to find a feedback mechanism with a friend who, was also intuitive. And I've done this through my life. Teachers come to us as we're ready, right? Where we have a feedback mechanism on the messages that we're receiving to check them and see if they're right. And then over time, different, more evolved teachers would come. So I would learn what different symbols mean, and what different colors mean, and what different flames mean healing, and which ones mean Archangel Michael, and which energy comes through to mean this. And then I started getting, it developed over time. Like, it developed from the time I was 12. So over 30 years here, I've been working to develop these. And again, that's what I'm trying to teach people through the book, is how to develop that skill on their own. But yes, and then once I met my spiritual mentor and received books that I follow, they're not religious, they're spiritual. Once I started reading those books, I just started getting downloads all the time. I was shown the vibration of the universe and why we're here. I was shown the creation of us and why we're here. I've been shown rainbow body stuff, and then the solar flares that are coming now. I got a download about that, and then I was shown 7 waves of light, different color each wave, that were coming to support us during this contrast that we've been through in the past 4 years. 5 years. Yes, I have to believe it's a direct result of that. However, I also believe we all have that in us, and that we can all access it. It's just not something we get to learn in the matrix that we exist in, experience of the earth. And what we're seeing right now is the release of the old paradigm, so that we can truly step into heart-based instead of a head-based existence. I just want everyone to know that it might not feel like it right now, but we are cleaning and clearing everything to make way for this golden age.
All right, you just said that we're in a matrix, and earlier you said we're in an illusion. So can you define our reality a little bit more, and what you mean by we're living in this matrix?
All that I know is what I know. So my truth might not be the truth for everyone. So please check with your presence. But when I was in the light, it was the most profoundly beautiful, connected, loving experience that I can't even put into human words, and to feel that and to know that, to come back into this world, there's a knowing that we are here for a reason. And I know, and I've seen that reason of expanding the universe. We're expanding the energy, the vibration of our collective energy, whatever that is on the other side, through our work here and the contrast that we've stepped into. And it's actually an honor and a gift to be here to do that. And we are spiritual beings living in a human body. We are so much more than our human. This is a tiny, tiny bit of the reality of who and what we are. So if that explains it, I guess I can.
All right, here's our next question for you. What are your thoughts on dreams? Thoughts on those who believe that we're asleep now and then wake up, and when we go to sleep?
I think I know what that's asking. Yes. When we sleep, I do believe we access different levels of higher consciousness and collective consciousness. Absolutely. You are your best interpreter of your dream. I can tell you that. And I think especially now, because people are stepping into their intuitive gifts so much more right now than they ever have before. I have people who seek me out because they're trying to understand what's happening at night. Like, they're astral projecting, they're starting to have prophetic dreams. These things are happening for people in real time right now. And yes, I truly believe that, because I've experienced stuff on my mentor would tell me, you need to go to sleep by midnight. And I'm not one that follows that rule. So sometimes I would stay up a little past midnight. She lives on the East Coast. Like, she's not even on social media, right? She's much older. And she called me one day in the morning. Because I would have dreams in my sleep. I would have messages, and sometimes they would have a very special symbol that had to do with her. It was like a blue sword. She called me and she said, "So I heard you had a vision for me last night." And I would say, "Did have a vision for you last night. How did you know?" And then one day she called me because I went to bed late. She said, "We wait for you." And I said, "What?" She said, "We wait for you on the other side. You do very important work on the other side. And if you go to bed late, then, you really need to go to bed by midnight." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is wild, right?" I can't explain that, I can't. But I do believe we access higher realms of consciousness in our sleep. I do believe yes, absolutely.
All right. The next question is, has your recognition of religion changed, and have you tried to change someone's beliefs of
Never.
someone who belongs to a certain
No, I don't try to change
certainty?
beliefs. I believe that on the other side in the light, though I grew up in a Christian home, um, there was no name. There was no name for that love, and there was no judgment. There was no name. Anyone can access that. Anyone can access it. And, you know, I believe that the highest presence is actually seated within our own heart, and that we are part of that greater light and love, and we can access it on our own through connecting with presence. But I do believe there are ways that we can get better at that, at accessing that presence. But to be honest, like that seed, that light of God that never fails, I like that phrase, is within us, each of us. We are that God presence. And once we realize that within ourselves, we realize how powerful we are, that we don't need to work through division or judgment, or, we can live through love and like accepting each other as they are, and celebrating people for their unique gifts, all of which are important to us, even if they're different than ours or we don't understand them. So I don't know if that answers the question, but I love going to ceremony and religious organizations, and I'll go to many different types in order to worship in my way, my own connection to God, which we all have.
Next question. I just want to know that we're really going to be reunited with people who we loved when they were here. Will it be as good or better?
Well, many people come to me because they want to reunite with someone who's passed, and that work does come through quite often. So they are not away from you right now. And to think that they're in another place that's somehow worse than here, I would let that go. It's such a beautiful place, but also they don't leave us. It's just like stepping through a doorway. And when through the doorway, it's more real there than here. And oftentimes, the loved ones that we have lost, they can do more for humanity and for the world and for the light from the other side than they could in the limitations of human body and the wounds that we go through and the experiences that we go through that shape our personality and our life and our minds. So there is a beautiful place, and they are there. And I believe that even in the light, there are different realms of light. So it's all beautiful and all good. And I believe that there are different realms that people access. And I don't know this to be true, but some other dear experiencers and I have talked about that. That you ascend. It's kind of what we're doing here on earth. If we choose love in every lesson of contrast, in every difficult situation, we are raising our vibration so the world can rise to meet around us. The world changes around us through our choices and the discernment of our thoughts. Now, that was the biggest thing that I came back was we are what we think. We create what we think. We create what we experience. So we can have a difficult situation, and then our response to it can shift whether it happens again, how we grow through it, and what we can do to help others with it. I kind of
Many,
got side.
that's okay. Many of my guests will say that it is more real on the other side. Why is that?
I wish I knew, but I think it's because there's truth to it. I mean, all I know is what I know. And that's why I find it so beautiful to help people access their own knowing without me getting in the middle and telling them what I see, because I could do that and I have done that. But I find in the evolution of my work, really, we just want to experience that love and that light and know it for ourselves. And once we do, it changes everything, everything, right? So it does feel like the reality is there.
You said you had one of your sound bowls with you, right? Can you
I
play one
think
for us? You may have to change your sound settings because
I'm gonna turn on
sometimes,
the sound for
yeah.
musicians.
What kind of bowl do you have? I was looking. What brand do you have, and what? Well, that's interesting. It has a little. That's a lot different than I've seen before.
This is an alchemy bowl, so it has it's infused with the gemstone of Larimar and tourmaline.
Mm-hmm.
So it is blue, but my other bowls are frosted white quartz. And quartz kind of amplifies people's spiritual abilities. So I can take people through a quick experience if they'd
That would be
like.
great. Before
Let's
you start, what note would that be?
I think this one is G, and
Gee.
so it resonates with the throat chakra, but again, it's all about intention. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to call in a ray of light. Let's see how it sounds first,
Okay.
and maybe we can get some feedback. How does it sound?
Yeah, I can hear it. You can play louder if you like.
I can? Okay.
Yeah,
How's that?
I think so. Let me change a headphone.
Okay. Now it's going pretty loud, so
I don't I don't feel like it's that loud on my end.
okay, good. Okay. Good. I turned on my musician sound. So if you could just sit up, align your spine, and breathe deeply into your abdomen. You may want to close your eyes. Begin to connect with the energy around you and imagine a perfect version of you just above the top of your head. This perfect and loving version of you is connected to the heart of creation, directly connected to the divine, and knows you and loves you at your core. Feel the love emanating from this presence and feel your heart opening in gratitude. Like a golden sun, see your heart expanding more and more. Expanding outside of your body, above the ceiling, above the tree line, above the mountaintops. As above, so below. See that light expanding. And from the heart of your presence, see a powerful golden light shining down on the top of your head. Receive that light opening to this powerful light of God that never fails. Feel the light moving into the mind, removing old thoughts and memories, raising the thought process into that of the higher realm. Lifting you into the light, feeling the golden light washing out what no longer serves and replacing it with light. Hold your closed eye gaze, looking at the back of the third eye now. And as you do, feel the light intensify, moving into the third eye, activating your intention, your intuition, and think of something you want to get from this experience today. Maybe you want to manifest, maybe you want to release, maybe you want to connect. Release it into the light. Feel the light flowing behind your eyes, into the temples, down into the nasal cavity, into the mouth, becoming a liquid light presence. You can swallow down this energy. Feeling it move to fill the base of the neck, the hollow at the base of the neck, swirling into the vertebrae at the back of the neck. And seeing a channel of light moving up and down the spine, leaving it there for the rest of this experience to reconnect you with light. See every cell within your body in the water element, transporting the light more and more throughout your body into the depths of every cell. Invite this light to blaze through, to charge through into every cell, activating all the points of light. Feel the light moving down your arms, into the hollows of your elbows, into your wrist, the bones at the back of your hand, in between each finger, in between each joint, in each finger. Feel that light vibrating in the palms of your hand as you glow from the inside out. Feel the heart receiving the light. Feel the expansion of the heart as you release to the light, allowing more of that golden presence, that golden essence, that golden liquid light to combine with your life stream, your bloodstream, pulsing through the body wherever it needs to go in infinite wisdom. Fill your lungs with the light. Feel it moving between the vertebrae, swirling into the back. And as if the golden central sun is pouring in, feel it pouring into the top of the abdomen. Feel your body filling with so much light that it just pushes out impurities, like rays of light shooting out from your body, filling the middle of the abdomen behind the belly button, softening the tissues in the organs, pulling out any substance, bringing in all light, all love, filling the base of the spine, feeling the fullness at the base of the pelvic floor, pushing down the legs into the knees and kneecaps, filling the ankles and the soles of the feet, pushing out that light through the soles of the feet. You are now the conduit between heaven and earth. See the light channeling into the depths of the crystalline center of the earth, received by the earth. Cleanse, discharge that energy into the earth, connecting with the earth plane on a powerful level. See that light now being sent back up to your presence directly, being requalified and sent back down into you. Notice how good it feels. Embody every quality of that loving, warm, filling light. Feel the fullness of the light, the expansion, the reconnection, the peace, the love. And with a deep cleansing breath, I like to say, I now joyously accept the full mighty God presence. I am a child of the light. I live in the light. I love the light. I serve the light. I am illumined, protected, supplied, sustained by the light, and I bless the light. Take a deep cleansing breath and give thanks. And invite your presence to stay with you, acting through you, bringing you more wisdom as you sleep and in nature, through animals and music.
Oh, that was amazing. I felt like the sound of that bowl really helped resonated with me. I think it
Yeah.
took that type of guided meditation to the next level. That was awesome.
My hand is shaking. There was a lot of energy coming through. There was so much light. There was an angelic presence. There was just a flow of expansion that just, oh, I love it. I'm so thankful that I get to do this.
Yeah.
Oh,
And what was
yeah.
cool is, I mean, that came out pretty well just through Zoom. Imagine being there like in the room with you.
Yeah, it works through time and space for sure. I do love because when I get out I have 11 bowls, the big giant ones.
Hmm.
And my our workshops in San Diego are amazing. We actually are. I've been invited to travel up to Santa Barbara in the first weekend in May, so we might be coming that way. And then we do breath work as well. My partner and I do. He does the breath work, and I do the bowls and the music imaging. We'll be in Chandler, Arizona, for part of the book tour in September, and then we just got invited to Phoenix, so we might be able to, if anybody's in any of those areas and would like to host a workshop, let me know. I'll be happy to do that.
Well, what's amazing for me is I've had so many guests lately from Sedona.
Really,
It
I've never
must it
been.
must be like just a huge community of I don't know how
Yeah,
what you would classify us as, but I mean,
it is.
spiritual people, yes. But I mean, it's amazing. I was like, I'm surprised everybody doesn't know everybody there. You know, I
Oh,
mean, I think they know of each other, but you would think that
yeah.
Sedona's got to be a small town. And oh, my internet's unstable. Hopefully, do you see me good on your end?
I do now, but you went out for a minute.
Oh, okay. So I was saying that in Sedona, the community is not there's not that many people that live there, and there's so many spiritual people that live there. It's you would think everybody knows everybody, but I don't. They know of each other, but I don't think they really hang out together. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I can't wait to go visit. Maybe I'll get to do a workshop there. Who
Mm-hmm.
knows?
Yeah.
I just need space for it, you know? But I will say that Encinitas area, like San Diego area, is also quite a vortex. They say it's kind of an area for, what is it? For gratitude. How perfect, right?
I'm sorry. Say that again.
They say San Diego too is a spiritual center for gratitude.
Yeah. Well, I'm not. I mean, I don't know about that, but I know I've actually had a handful of guests from San Diego as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh,
And
yeah.
you have Legoland there, so
I
you
know,
can't miss
right?
out.
True.
Let me catch up with some questions for you here. The next one is, do you know why some people have hellish NDEs?
Hmm.
I find it as I've done about 600 NDE interviews, and it's about 1 out of 100, which are my
Yeah.
kind of stats.
The coolest story I heard that was like that was someone who was in that experience and first was overtaken by fear. And fear is a way to take us away from our light, right? If you think of that. And he said that in that moment he was told and then made a choice to bring light into that kind of dark experience. And when he did, it shifted the entire thing into the light. And I think it just goes to show that we have a choice about how we respond. And fear is the most powerful emotion, I think, at controlling humanity. And if we bring light and love, we can actually transmute that fear into something way more beautiful and perfect for where we're going right now as a collective. So that would be my answer to that. I can't say that I know exactly why because of course I'm just me. But I would say that I think everything that we experience, every single thing is an opportunity for us to choose love or to choose fear. And if we choose love, then we're living in the divine plan for our life stream. And I also think that many of us are in a lifetime of reconciliation, I guess you could say. So we might be coming back to here to live a way that we need to live in order to learn certain lessons. And I do believe that there is an element of that too. That we do come back to learn certain things, and there are certain lifetimes that can really elevate into the light, but we can always choose love over fear.
All right. How is life perfect for those who suffer pain, poverty, loneliness, addictions, madness, love, dejection, etc.,
It's
etc.?
not.
It's
No,
and it
not
says
perfect.
it's live for them also, so loving, beautiful, and perfect.
It is so sad what we have to live through in humanity. And there it's not possible to find perfection in an imperfect place. So in this world, I don't think we're meant to come here to find perfection. We're meant to live in our life stream as we choose to live through love. And again, I've been through things, very difficult things in my life. And the thing that I learned about from my near death experience is I can handle great loss through love, and I can make it matter, and I can handle, I've been through a debilitating illness that Lyme disease. I live with Lyme disease, and I had to go through my own reawakening through that and reawakening through divorce and loss of every part of my human ego. We have death through ego. We have ego deaths on this plane that we have to experience. An ego death is anything where we have to disidentify with something that we thought made us who we are. And, there were things like that for me where I thought a career death, a family death, of, all sorts of things, health. It can be legal, it can be physical, it can be a near death experience. All of these opportunities of disidentifying with something that we over identified with is actually can be used as a way to elevate us into a higher realm and a higher existence and an ascension onto this earth. I would never say that any of these things are perfect or even good if I were to describe those things that way. But I would say that we are living a human experience. And up until this time, we've had to deal with a lot of shadow and a lot of dense energy. And again, it's not always what happens to us, but how we choose to respond to it, that we will create a different future where those things might not exist someday.
All right, which one's next? Let's say love is grace, and then it says grace for what? And then it says righteousness in God because God chose to be redeemed forever.
I'm not sure that I understand the question, and I'm not sure that I understand how I would answer.
All right, well, I've got more here. How are our loved ones with us once they reincarnate?
Oh, so I believe that there's only a portion of our soul that can be in our human body. Our human body can't hold our entire energetic being. So, in my opinion, there are parts of us, the bigger part of us lives outside of our human body. And it can come through us and to us through messages and downloads. So there's a way that we can be, you know, not only reincarnated, but still have an element of ourselves outside of ourselves. But I think we can bring more of our soul body into ourselves through certain practices. I also believe that we are everything all at once. So we've lived the life of a pauper, we've lived the life of a king or a queen, and we've done things in lives that we'd be mortified to know about in this life, right? And so to know that we hold everything within us, and our choice is what do we express and what do we feed and what do we focus on, right? That is that. So our loved ones can still be with us in some capacity and still reincarnate, in my opinion. But again, it's up to you and your presence to determine that.
Well, I think some of my guests would say that while our higher self is there, all of our lives are happening at the same time.
That is such a cool. That's something that came to me recently, and also the power of like water, but that's a whole different subject. But yes, all of our lives can be lived at the same time, because what is time? It's also part of our human experience, right? But time is also something that makes us think about our um like sometimes makes people think about their death and brings fear, right? But if we kind of don't, if we remove that fear of death and know that that it's a beautiful experience and that it is the higher realm, then that kind of takes away the whole thing about time too. Yeah.
Right. All right, Ellen, I'm so sorry. I'm going to have to run here because I've got the next guest, but I want to let everybody know that in the description below, there are 3 links. One is a link to my original podcast I did with her a couple of years ago.
Well, yeah.
Also is a link to her YouTube channel if you want to check out what she's doing on her channel. And then there's a link to her link tree, which from there you can go to all her social media.
Yeah, it would be great to connect with some new friends, and you can always connect with me for a session or yeah, I'm excited. Thank you so much. I know you
Great.
have somewhere to be and this was amazing.
Oh, well, I just have the next guest to pull in. I do two on a Saturday night. So, Ellen, thank you again for coming and hanging out with us. We really appreciate you sharing and that amazing meditation you did for us. And don't be a stranger. Come back and see us again.
All right. Thank you.
All right, we'll see you later.
Bye.
Bye bye. Give me 1 second. I'll give her a big round of applause. And while we're waiting for our next guest, Christian, I need to say a thank you to somebody for a super thanks. Mike Barella, thank you so much for that super thanks. We really appreciate it. Thank you. And Carmel Barat, she lost her dear husband 4 months ago after 54 years of marriage. I've tried everything to reach out to him, but nothing has worked. I know he would reach out to me if it was possible. Carmen, my sincere condolences for your loss. And I had a guest, what was it, yesterday's or 2 days ago's guest that we spoke about this, and you probably might want to watch that video and get in touch with him. Christian, are you there?
I'm here.
All right,
Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, we can hear you. Great, welcome. All right, let me introduce you here to the world. We've got everybody here waiting for you, and I just want to quickly introduce you. Let me pull up my notes. You're in New Jersey, right?
Yes.
In New Jersey. Now, Christian had an experience where he believes he possibly died or was out of body and found himself floating towards an intense ball of light and was deflected away and floated off into darkness before coming aware again. I will let you, Christian, just tell us about it. Maybe start on the day that this happened and we'll go from there.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Jeff. Thanks for having me on. I told my friend about this, and he was like, I know this guy named Jeff. He's like, I got to get you on the show. It was a long time ago. It was like 13 years ago. I'm bad with years. Yeah, one night I came home. I was having like really bad chest pains. I was really depressed, and I was gonna go to the hospital, but I was like, you know what? Like I was so depressed. I was like, I don't even care. I'm just gonna lay down and like whatever happens, happens. And I ended up laying down. I was living in a basement at the time, and I laid down, and then minutes later, I found myself in like complete darkness. I felt like maybe I was dreaming, but it didn't feel like a dream. It felt like something different. And I was in complete darkness, and I looked down at myself and I thought that I was going to see like my legs or something, but I didn't even see anything. I was like invisible, and I started to panic. I started to freak out. I was like, I don't know what's happening. I felt claustrophobic. But then off in the distance, I noticed like a pin dot of white light, and then it started to get bigger and bigger, and I realized that I was like gravitating towards it. And then and then I got closer and closer, and like the light was bigger and bigger. I don't know if it was like a ball or if it was like a hole, but it was just like this big mass of white light. And I started to notice other things around me, like, and I realized like these are like other people going towards it also. And I noticed that, but they weren't like people. It was like kind of like orbs or something. It was kind of like they were invisible, but I knew they were there. And they started to get pulled into the white light, and I started to feel like a lot of people who've described. I started to feel like this feeling of like I didn't need to panic anymore. I felt like things were all right. I felt like everything was okay, and people were getting pulled into it. And then when I got really close to it, I thought that I was going to get pulled into it, but I kind of like went and got like deflected around it, and then I started to go off into the darkness again, and then I kind of came back to my senses, and I was in the basement again, and I was like, what happened? You know, like I felt You know what I mean? At first, I felt like I was scared. Like I wonder if I wasn't gonna get accepted into that light or something. But I kind of feel like I got deflected because it wasn't really my time to go into it or something like that.
I literally did a podcast yesterday and probably another one over the last few days that had the same exact beginning sequence. They were in the dark, which we here on the channel call the black void. And I feel like it's just kind of being outside all the realms. And then they see a pinpoint of light, and then they finally get pulled into it, which you did. I don't know if you had a heart attack or not. It's possible you had chest pain. Um, and what's another common thing you had is you surrendered. And a lot of times when people just surrender to death, it's when they have the experience. I don't know what that equation is, but when you're not fighting and you surrender, something seems to happen. And
Yeah,
clinically, I wasn't there, and you didn't go to the doctor. I don't know what happened to you clinically, but those elements sound reasonable to me that you had some type of near-death experience. And I think you're right. It wasn't your time, and you were sent back.
I think so too. Because yeah, it just didn't feel like a dream. You know what I mean? It felt like it happened a long time ago, and it's something that like I think about every day since then. Like it's something that I think about it like 10 times a day since then. You know what I mean?
Are you saying that the memory of it doesn't fade?
Right. Yeah, like it's definitely still like clear as day. Like I never forgot about it. It's been like the main thing that I think about since then.
Have you noticed that afterwards you had any new abilities that could be considered psychic in any way?
Yeah, my friend Rich, he I told him about it, and I really only told like three people about this since then. And it turns out my friend is big into your show. He's all about like the near death experiences. He's never had one, but he's just big into it. And he watches all your podcasts. And I never knew anything about this stuff. Like I never watched any podcast. So the first thing he asked me was, do you feel like you have any strange abilities? And then he said to me, for example, empathic abilities. And that like blew my mind because I've been having this I discovered the empath thing a couple years ago, and I felt like my body reacted to it when I watched a video about it, and my body reacted to it, and I started like tingling and feeling like out of control, like I've never felt like this before. So I started to read about the empath thing, and like I'm 100% convinced that I'm an empath, and I've been having like all kinds of strange connections with like things and people and stuff. And so I'm definitely convinced that like I do have like a not really like an empath in the sense of just like all feeling empathy all the time, but I've had some strange situations with people where I could almost see their energy, or you know what I mean, like weird stuff like that.
What? Well, so let me figure out which question I want to go to. I'll just go to this one. In general, besides what you've told us, have you changed in any way spiritually or religiously?
I definitely have. I mean, I grew up like into punk rock stuff, and I was always considered myself like either an atheist or an agnostic. And I never was into the religious thing. But now I consider myself to be like all spiritual. There's no way around it. Like I just everything is like I'm just like all spiritual now. Like everything's spiritual for me.
Do you feel like you're still processing this experience?
I definitely am. Like part of me still feels like I'm scared, like I'm afraid that I'm gonna get deflected from the light again. Like I'm not gonna get accepted into that light or something. But I'm kind of hoping that it's that I got deflected from because it wasn't my time and I was kind of given another chance type of thing.
Did you ever get your body checked out to see if you had any kind of, medical issue going on?
I did. I went to like a heart specialist, and it turns out I have a bad heart murmur. But other than that, nothing too crazy.
Do you think that the night that you had this, I mean, I don't want to pry into your personal life, but I'm just kind of curious about what happened to you. Do you think that were you drinking or smoking or taking in any type of substance that may have raced your heart?
It's possible. Yeah, like I mean, I used to smoke weed all the time. Not like that's gonna give anyone a heart attack, but
Hmm.
I was a little carried away with drinking at the time. I wasn't drunk that night, but I definitely would use substances just as a vice for like depression, anxiety type stuff.
Hmm. Okay.
So it's possible, like maybe that had something to do with it.
Yeah, I don't, I haven't had an NDE, so I can't tell you and advise you with, certainty. But again, from my interpretation of listening to over 500 NDEs, I feel like you weren't rejected by the light. You were just sent back, and you shouldn't have fear about the next time you cross over because, like I said, I don't think, God doesn't reject anybody, right? So I wouldn't have any, just to pass on some, I don't know. Hope that helps you, but I wouldn't worry about that because listening to so many people aren't rejected from God. I just think you were sent back because it wasn't your time. Perhaps you even had a communication with somebody, you just don't remember it.
Right, right. That's how I kind of feel, though. I feel positive about that because as I got close to the light, I literally felt like a really just comfortable feeling, like there wasn't anything to worry about. Like I felt like everything was okay and like there wasn't anything to worry about. So that's kind of like what makes me feel good about it.
Hmm. There is an organization out there, and they may even be free. It's called Assist, but I think it's ACISTE. It's like an acronym. And there are people that help people sort out their NDEs. And I think the people who work there are psychologists. But whenever I'm not sure if you're having any trouble, I'm just kind of passing along the information. But occasionally I'll get a guest that's having trouble processing their NDE and I refer them out to them. So if you ever feel like you need help, you may want to contact them. If you just Google them, I'm sure you can
No, I
find it.
appreciate that. I was actually going to ask you about that because I
Hmm.
definitely am interested in stuff like that. I'm interested in all kinds of stuff like that. I was going to ask you about that.
Let me see if I got it right. Yeah, yeah. I just Googled, if you just Google ACIST, ACISTE, and then NDE, it's like the first thing. And ASSIST stands for American Center for the Integration of Spiritually Transformative Experiences. So, okay, maybe I'll put it in the chat.
Yeah, sounds
I'll
good.
put that
I'm
in the
definitely going
chat
to
for
check that
for
out.
that out because every now and then people will, like I said, may need some assistance. They need an assist with their NDE, so that would be help. But it sounds like let me ask you this. Does it feel like what you had is completely different from a dream?
Definitely. It felt completely different. Like I don't feel like I went to sleep. I don't feel like I dream all the time. I have like really vivid dreams all the time. But like this just didn't feel like a dream. This felt like a life changing situation where like it was something different. You know what I mean?
Did you feel like any intense amount of love or any type of an emotion while you were in the darkness or around the light?
I did at first, like I was saying, I felt like horribly scared, like I was like locked in a casket or something. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? But when I got close to the light, I realized like, yeah, I felt like total safety. Like I felt like everything was all right. I felt like loved. I felt just like all kinds of overwhelming feelings, but they were all positive. So
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of what makes me kind of feel good about it in a
Mm-hmm.
way.
Acceptance, maybe.
Definitely.
That's awesome. I mean, I think you had a quick experience. Even though it was quick, it
And
was amazing.
I wanted to mention a weird situation I had a couple months ago where,
Okay.
like, when I was talking about the empathic thing, I was working with my friend at a brewery, and
Mm-hmm.
it was me and him serving drinks, and there was like tons of people there hanging out, and a group of people came in, and there was a lady that walked in, and I didn't even see her face, but I felt like I almost fainted because I felt like this weird empathic connection, and like I saw this lady in like a different type of like energy.
Mm-hmm.
Like she just stood out. Like everyone else was like white, and then she stood out like red. I mean, I didn't actually see her as red, but she stood out like that. And it freaked me out so much that I turned around, and I didn't want her to see me because I didn't really know what was happening. So I turned around and started doing dishes as they walked by, and they went to the back of the room and sat down, and I was trying to process in my mind, like, why am I feeling like this particular lady is like just like creating this crazy energy around me.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and this lady eventually, maybe like 10 minutes later, she came up to the bar, and I felt like overwhelmed, and I walked over to her, and the first thing she said to me was, she said to me, I could see you clear as day. She literally came up to me and she said, I just wanted to tell you that I could see you clear as day. And then I told her that I could see her clear as day also. And it was like the weirdest thing that ever happened in the end. And then I asked her if she needed anything, and she was like, no, I don't drink. And she's like, I just wanted to come over and tell you that. And I was like, I couldn't believe it. And then I told her that I believed that I was an empath or had some sort of empathic abilities, and she was like, yeah, you definitely do. And she told me that she did also. I should have got like her number or
Wow,
something,
yeah,
but
that would have been amazing.
yeah.
You may have some you turned on, I think that a many near-death experiencers turn on abilities, and just like I think what happened to you, and maybe if you had some help, you could develop it.
All right. Right. Yeah. I mean, if you know anything about that, I mean, I try to read about it.
Right.
I
I
know,
mean, I'm sorry to
right.
interrupt you. I wish I knew the exact resource to send you to, I mean, someone that that I could say, yeah, definitely go see John Doe, but I can't tell you for sure, but um, maybe you could Google developing your empathic ability, or have you started doing meditation or anything like that?
I tried to do meditation, but I'm a little like, I don't know, I'm a little busy minded. It's a little hard for me to do. So I could
Right.
do it for a short amount of time.
Yeah.
So I try.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. It's not easy. I think the easiest ones to do are the guided ones. That's like, actually, we just had a great one. If you go back and listen to watch this video later, the guest that was on the first hour took us through a nice meditation for about 5 or 10 minutes. And maybe you start with things like that. Look through YouTube and just guided meditations. Because I think it's just, kind of quiet stuff. Focus is the mind when you're focusing on someone else's voice. I mean, always, we have monkey minds, and it's going to kind of stray, but hopefully the voice kind of brings you back. But I think, yeah, maybe there's some real possibilities of some interesting things you could do if you could develop that. And that story is amazing. Gosh, I wish you would have got her number and you found out what was her story and how could she see you. I wonder if she's a
Right.
near-death
Yeah, I should have.
experiencer.
I was kind of like so overwhelmed in the moment. Like I just, I didn't think to be like, let me get your number or something. You know what I mean? It just kind of happened.
Hmm. Okay, I'm going to ask you a freaky question. I had a guest yesterday. Was it yesterday or the day before that I recorded? I haven't published yet. And I'm finding out that I think more near-death experiencers don't want to talk about this, but I believe that there is a connection with UFOs and NDEs because so many people start seeing them afterwards. So have you seen anything like that after your NDE?
I haven't, but I have something going on with quantum physics where I became interested in quantum physics. I believe in UFOs. I haven't really seen any, but I've had this unusual like attraction to quantum physics and and stuff like that. And yeah, I wanted to mention something about that. Like I know a lot of people know about the Higgs field. It's like a force field where subatomic particles come into it, and the Higgs field like decides what those subatomic particles are going to become. Like it like gives them the craving to exist and like the craving to like form relationships almost, you know? So I feel like there's bigger force fields out there where it's similar to the Higgs field, where maybe like the human spirit will go through a force field and kind of determine what it's going to become. Like there's a video, it's called it's an award-winning description of the Higgs field by Don Lincoln, and it's a cartoon and it's really short. It's like 3 minutes, and it talks about how they create the metaphor. Say you're in a bar full of people, and they use the guy Peter Higgs who discovered the Higgs field. They say if Peter Higgs walks into the bar, that everyone will crowd around him and like they'll want to talk to him and they'll want to hug him and share experiences with him and laugh and smile. But when like a corrupt like scumbag type tax collector comes into the bar, no one wants to talk to him, so he's able to just walk right through the bar uninterrupted. Where Peter Higgs is, he can't just walk through the bar quick because everyone wants to talk to him. So I feel like there's a force field that involves like morality kind of, and I feel like I could see these types of things for some reason, like as if as if morality matters. Like if you're a bad person and you
Hmm.
go into this white light, that you're not really going to interact with it and it's not really going to need to interact with you. But if you're like a really good person, that like everyone's going to kind of want to crowd around you and hug you and talk to you. You know what I mean?
Hmm. From the experiences that I talk to, a lot of times being in the light is a place where you receive healing. Do you felt like you were healed in the light at all?
Um, I kind of feel like I didn't get the full chance to go into the light, but I
Hmm.
felt like if I did, it was definitely going to be like that.
Right. I have a question for you here. Do you feel like you have a purpose for coming back? And if so, do you think you know what the purpose is?
Um, well, I feel like the fact that I've like acquired some kind of empathic skills, like I feel like there's definitely a purpose there. Like I feel like I could just share with people the idea of like why morality kind of matters. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah. I would say that, if you do good things or you be more moral, you're going to raise your energy. And, if you're doing the right things, especially near death experiencers will say that the most important things are simple acts of kindness. And I think those are important because they're not premeditated. You know what I mean? You're not planning them out to do a kind action. You just, somebody does, I don't know, someone drops their bag of groceries and you stop on the street and help them pick them up and put them back in their bag. You know what I mean? Something that's not planned out. And they say that on the other side, that those simple acts of kindness are so much more, or weigh so much more than anything else. So back to the morality thing. I mean, I'm just thinking that, if you do good things, be in service to people and help people, right? That's a and many guests say that um, what's the word? Being grateful, being thankful and grateful also really raises your energy, your vibration, your frequency. So I think morality is kind of along the same lines as those, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, definitely. You're right. I feel like it goes a lot further than people think, right?
So
Oh, and one other thing I wanted to mention,
sure.
last night I was looking through some of your videos on YouTube and there was
Mm-hmm.
like tons of them and I was like, I don't
Yeah,
know which one to watch.
there's about
So
1,000.
yeah, so I decided to just scroll through and look into people's eyes and like kind of see who I was drawn to.
Interesting. Yeah.
And I decided to see like who would stand out to me. And the one that stood out to me was that guy Jason, who was in a motorcycle accident.
Okay, Jason. I don't know Jason.
Jason Haynes, I believe it was like
Oh,
archaics.com. And he,
oh yeah, Jason from yeah, Jason. Was that the one? I mean, there's a Jason guy that I'm pretty sure that's Jason that we talked a lot about how does he simulacrum or the
yeah,
simulacrum?
exactly. That guy and the
We live
NPCs and all that stuff.
yeah,
Right.
about living in the simulation. Yeah.
Because he started talking a lot about quantum physics, and I
Hmm.
felt like I chose the right person to watch. Like that guy kind of blew me away.
It's amazing how every video, or nearly every video, someone will say that is my favorite video. So every guest, or potentially every guest, resonates with somebody. And while I'm just going to give myself a little bit, yeah, Jason Brashears. Thank you, thank you, Dream Detective, for putting that on. Yeah, and Son
All
Goku
right.
says that too. Jason Brashears. I have out of doing many, near-death experiencers, it just reminded me of this, that the one I'm going to post tomorrow is a man and a woman were in a motorcycle accident, because you said motorcycle accident, and they both died and were together on the other side. I guess basically had an NDE together, and he came back and she didn't.
Wow.
So yeah, and that's the first time I've ever got one of those stories. And I've had a few people I had a pilot that died with other pilots. It was like a plane crash, but they didn't see each other on the other side. This is the first time that I've had that, and so maybe you'll like
I'm
that
gonna
one.
keep watching them though.
That's tomorrow
I just
night.
kind of started getting into this thing.
If
It was
you
like,
like near-death experiences, I put all the near-death experience videos. I put it basically every video into a playlist. So there's like a playlist of NDEs, a playlist of like UFO experiencers, psychics, channelers, and so depending on the subject matter, then you can that may kind of break them down for you.
yeah, because I've watched a couple of them now, and
Mm-hmm.
some of them I found some strange similarities. Like I saw one about a lady talking about how she went above her hospital bed when she
Mm-hmm.
died and she
Yes.
saw orbs
Right.
that were like all connected and stuff like that. And I felt like I kind of saw something like that. Like I saw orbs and you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, people see orbs as well. I mean, that's another and some people will see themselves as an orb. I mean, when you were there going around the light, and you were in a
Yeah, like
space
that's
that was
kind of how I saw
illuminated,
myself. Right.
do you feel like you were in the form of an orb?
I felt like I was. Yeah. I I feel like that sounds generic, but yeah, I felt like I was. I felt like I was invisible and I was like inside of an orb
Mm-hmm.
and I saw other. I didn't know that there were people in them, but I just for somehow I knew that there were like other people and I could see orbs literally getting like sucked into the light.
All
So
right.
I definitely felt like that.
When you came back to your body, when you woke up, did you feel like you were in a meat suit or something? All of a sudden, you were in this, wow, it's so dense here on Earth compared to where you just were.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. And pretty much ever since then, I've kind of just like been just struggling with the idea of just being like in time. You know what I mean? I
Mm-hmm.
felt like my friend also asked me what time felt like, and I told him that it didn't feel like time existed. And I saw some other people talk about that in some of your interviews. And I kind of felt like I've been having a struggle with just living in time ever since then. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I want to be free of time, but like I'm kind of trapped in time.
When you were there, did you forget about Christian and this life? Or did you not care about this life and Christian anymore? You know what I mean? Was that just like something that was in the past?
Yeah, I guess I was able to let go of that kind of, and it just didn't feel like time made sense where I was. Like time wasn't really like a factor, you know what I mean?
Have you considered writing your experience down? Like writing it all out and, I don't know, maybe publish a short story or a book about it? Or at least just writing it down. Maybe as you write it, more memories will come back to you.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I have on like a small level, but maybe I should try doing it in a little more detail.
Mm-hmm. What other
I
questions
thought,
did your friend ask you?
well, those were the big ones about asking if I had any empathic abilities or what time felt like. Um, but that was pretty much it. But he was telling me a bunch of, 'cause he's all into this stuff, and he was telling me about other people experiences, like videos that he watched, and just I don't know, a lot of that stuff. Like I just really believed it. Like usually I wouldn't believe something like that, but now I just completely believe stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, to me, you had an amazing experience.
Yeah, it was definitely something that really just it stood out to me since then. Like it's something I think about like every day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sometimes I have guests that are like that. I think one of my guests, that is a hospital, he had an NDE in the hospital too, but he is a hospital chaplain. And I think he said that he just can't escape it. Can't
All right,
escape the
right.
memory of it. It just, he's still, and it's been years and he just, he can't escape it. I don't think in a bad way, I just like, I guess maybe he's like you. He finds himself thinking about it often.
Yeah, I definitely feel like that. Like I can't escape it. Like I'm always thinking about it. Like and and it's not a really bad thing. It's just kind of like a overwhelming thing. Like I feel like I've partially seen like eternity or something. You know what I mean? And it's just like, how do I process that in living in this world? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, that was great. I mean, thank you for coming on and sharing it with us. We really appreciate you. I'm not sure if I don't want, and even though, yours is short, it was still impactful. You know what I mean? Sometimes guests go to A, B, and C and go to see the Crystal City and do all kinds of stuff. And sometimes they're quick like yours, but it doesn't mean that yours isn't as any less significant as anybody else's.
Right. Yeah, and I
Mm-hmm.
appreciate you having me on. I really appreciate it. I'm definitely gonna look into some of those things you were telling me about.
Well, while we're here, before I let you go, if people in the audience want to reach out to you and chat with you, are you open to that?
Yeah, I'm definitely open to it.
All right.
Should I do like an email or
What's the
something?
best way for people to contact you? An email, a Facebook profile, or Instagram, or whatever you think.
Um, yeah, like if someone wants to message me on Facebook Messenger, that would be cool. It's
Mm-hmm.
just I'm under Christian Koresh, and you'll see my picture on there,
Mm-hmm.
and you could just message me on there, and I'll answer back.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I'm definitely open to that.
And if you want, do you know what Discord is?
I don't.
Discord is kind of like Facebook, but kind of not. But it's, I don't know how to really describe it, but you go to discord.com, you get a free profile. It's totally free. And then once you're there, you email me personally. And this goes for everybody in the audience too, if you haven't done this. You email me personally and I'll give you the link to my rooms. Like I have different rooms where you can go, and there's over 600 people there, and people are always in, it's like-minded people, and they're hanging out and they chat about whatever. And there's like the NDE room or the UFO room or whatever room is there. And so if you want to meet more like-minded people, and whenever you're hanging out or whatever, whenever you have some free time, sometimes they're even, I think on Friday nights they all even get together. You can voice chat there, you can video chat, or you can do all kinds of stuff there. It's really cool. You can post all kinds of stuff. I set it up. I'm not there that often, but you may find some new friends there that like to talk about the same stuff like you've had.
Yeah, I'll definitely check it out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely down to check it out. Maybe I'll do that tonight.
Cool. All right, Christian. Well, listen, thank you so much for coming and sharing your experience with us. We really appreciate you.
Oh, I appreciate you too, Jeff. Thanks again. And I'm gonna start checking out your videos and everything. I'm gonna start following you. So
Thank you so much.
now that I kind of
All right,
was able
Christian.
to come out about this and talk about it.
Well,
Yeah,
thank
thanks
you.
again. I appreciate
Thank you
it.
for coming and sharing
I'll
with
see you
us.
soon.
Okay, we'll see you soon. Take care and God bless you.
Thanks, you too.
Mm-hmm. And we'll give him a big round of applause. Christian, that was great. That was the first time I met the guest. We all met him together right now. Right now during the podcast. So that was kind of like a live NDE, kind of like what I do. And you guys got to experience it with me, so I thought that was pretty neat. All right, so let me kind of tell you again about what's going on. Again, I had a guy, tomorrow night's video is a man that was in a motorcycle accident with his wife, and they both died, and he came back, but he was with her on the other side. So I hope you enjoy that one. I've got several NDEs, not several videos that I've recorded that I haven't even started, I haven't started editing yet. I've got 2 NDEs, and one of them was a woman that we went through a long video about her NDE, and then we got off the air, and somehow she started talking about, I don't know how we got into ETs and stuff, and she's like one of these guests that after their NDEs has all this ET stuff, and it was amazing. So I have her scheduled to come back next Saturday so I can record all her ET stuff with her, part 2. And I think her started out just like his, where I can't remember how she died, but she was in a black space, and then she said she saw just a point of light, like one of these stars here, and then it just pulled her into it, and then she went to the light, and I think she went to the Crystal City and some other places, which is pretty cool, because I think she's a second or maybe third guest to talk about the Crystal City on the other side. And so that's that one. And then I had a guest the other day that we talk about, some of the near-death experiencers talk about seeing aliens on the other side, or ETs, or other kind of beings. Well, this guy was kind of the opposite. ETs, he had an ET experience which took him into the same realm as the afterlife. And he was he got to see with the ETs what's happening in the afterlife world. So it's kind of like the reverse. So I hope you guys will join that. I had another NDE that I recorded, which I think you guys are going to enjoy. And coming up next week, I've got 1, 2, 3 NDEs to record. Right now, tentatively, I have Dr. Courtney Brown coming back on Monday. I feel pretty confident that he will be here. Sometimes guests have to they get sick or who knows what. So I'm kind of want to, I can't guarantee it, but we have him scheduled. And if you haven't seen that video, Dr. Courtney Brown has a PhD in mathematics. He works at Emory University, and that's where the CDC is. And I think he's taken mathematical formulas and applied them to politics, and that's what he does out there. Anyways, he's really into remote viewing. He's got a remote viewing team, and he is also a guy that has figured out how to modify your mirrorless or DSLR camera. And he says that you can point it at the sky at any time of the day for 10 minutes. And if you change your camera into recording in infrared instead of regular, and it's got to be recording in 4K, and it's got to be a fast speed like 256 or something like that frames per second, point it at the sky and hit record for 10 minutes and come back down and put it on your video editor, and they'll be flying by quickly. But there are UFOs flying by. There's a lot of cloaked UFOs up there, and I guess you see them in infrared. But what's amazing is this is a guy, this is a guy that's a PhD teaching at Emory, and he's talking about UFOs. We talk about UFOs, and it's normal for us, but there's a lot of people out there that if you start talking about UFOs, they might think, you're a little crazy, right? Sorry, I'm trying to find a question here or something. Somebody asked a question. Give me 1 second here. There it is. Does Jeff ever doubt any guests? I don't focus on whether my guest is telling me the truth or not. What I focus on is helping them share their story. And for me, I basically try to focus that whatever they're telling me is the truth. Because that way I can lock into what they're saying and ask them and talk to them about what their experience is. If you start doubting them, then you're whatever they're telling you just goes right by, and then you can't focus, right? So maybe in a way I'm like a priest hearing somebody's confession. I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but I'm still like, yeah, that's true. As I was my guests are kind of like patients from when I was a chiropractor, right? Instead of asking me, well, how did you hurt your back, or tell me what happened to your neck, how did you get this neck pain? Now I'm saying, how did you die? Tell us what happened. And sometimes I think it kind of comes through. Maybe my style of interviewing is still like a patient. So, and I just have, that's from being in the office with people, is sometimes you just have to speak slowly and make sure that they understand your question. So that's some of the reason why my questions are so slow, and it's because I want to make sure the guest is understanding me. And then sometimes the guest will tell me something and I'll kind of try to, I'm not sure what they're saying. And so I'll kind of take what they told me and I'll summarize it and tell it back to them. Oh, so this and this and this happened to you. Is that what you're saying? And yes, so that's kind of like from my past history of being with people in the office, is that, oh, so you were picking up a tree in your backyard and you slipped and then your back twisted and then you started hurting. Is that that's how it happened? And so it's kind of like that. So that's kind of my style. That's what makes me, I guess, look different from everybody else. So anyways, besides that, Leslie King's, I don't know if Leslie, if you are here, it'd be great if you come now before we go into overtime. But Leslie King, I believe, told us that he comes every other week and would like to perform for everybody. And he wasn't here except for he was here 2 weeks ago. So I'm not sure if he's on the way here or not. You're welcome to ask me questions if you like. We have about 19 minutes here. I think I've told you all my updates on what's coming up next. Let me just see what's the following week. I try to I try to schedule out as far as I can in advance. And I use a calendar. I mean, my whole setup is so simplistic. I'm using the calendar. I have a Mac, which you guys, if you haven't seen my video of our room here, our podcast studio, my big right here is where my bigger monitors where I talk to people on Zoom, and then I have a Mac laptop here. And so on the Mac, it has a built-in calendar, and I just type the guests in. And anyways, the calendar auto-fills with stuff too, like St. Patrick's Day and different stuff. So sometimes if I'm not paying attention, I'll just see a name there like St. Patrick's Day, and if I'm not paying attention, I'll think, oh, I have a guest scheduled that day, and then I go back and look and say, oh, I don't. Jeff Mara, I think you helped that last fellow start his journey of growing comfy with his story and think more deeply about it. I hope so too, Roxanne. That was kind of what I like to do, is help them see it, because of people have these experiences and they don't know how to frame them. So at least I wanted to frame it for him in a positive experience. Are there any interviews we don't see? Occasionally there are. Well, I have one that it's half edited, and I'm just not sure when to post it. It's maybe the darkest interview ever. And I know that dark interviews trigger people. And I'm not sure if the podcast is big enough yet for that, because, so I don't know what I'm doing with that one. It's just sitting there. It's almost finished. And there's a lot of darkness to it. And it's not dark in the NDE itself. It's dark in the way that the person died. I'll put it that way, or had to leave the body. And so, and there's a lot of stuff in there to go over. And I mean, it could have been, there's a lot of stuff that we could have talked about. I don't know. I mean, all the dark, I mean, you could do a whole podcast on this woman's life besides the NDEs, all the stuff she was into alone. I mean, it could probably be like on one of those crime and whatever type of podcasts. But I'm not sure what to do with it yet, and I haven't finished it. Dark as legit as in scary as the light, bad things happen. No, that's what I was saying. There's on a time delay, so hopefully you've heard it now. In your opinion, what does an NDE have to happen to have it make one? I'm not really, I mean, part of the thing is I go at least by it's hard to really answer that one. That's a good question. At least for the podcast and for the audience, I like to have an NDE be more of like some type of something happens to somebody's body, like they had a heart attack, they got ran over by a car. This guy almost kind of sounds like he had a heart attack. So I liked some kind of explanation, although I don't, I can't guarantee for sure. So I'd say anything's possible. I just those are the ones that I prefer as a guest. So that's kind of the way the ones that I get, what's the right word? I get offers for guests. People reach out to me having to be on a show. So if somebody says they were dreaming or had a bad dream and then they had an NDE, I can already see in the comments that it's going to be, this person was just dreaming. They didn't have an NDE. And I don't want to let down the audience. And I'm not saying the person didn't have an NDE. I'm just saying I already know that there's a lot of people in the audience that's going to be saying, or there's going to be enough people in it saying this wasn't an NDE, it was just a dream or whatever. But I think it would be a good idea, that it would probably be a good idea to get one of these researchers on that they have their definition. I think, well, we did have Dr. Jeff, what is his name, last name? The medical doctor, he's one of the big, he has the NDERF research. Jeff something, I'm sure somebody in here, and I'm pretty sure that by their definition, like someone like that wouldn't be an NDE, and they have, they're more, or they may be more, decisive on what is an NDE and what isn't an NDE. But I mean, you don't have to be clinically dead. I don't go as far as like, oh, if you weren't clinically dead, it wasn't an NDE. I just think that there's, usually, unless they're under some kind of severe emotional, psychic stress, but usually there's some kind of stress to the body, physical stress where your spirit or your consciousness leaves because it was intolerable or it was approaching death. I hope that answers your question. Imagine if an ET with an MBA had an NDE on the QT. Wow, that's pretty amazing. I didn't think about that one. On the QT. Wonder what the QT is. Are you any of you guys into, by the way, I was looking into Reddit, and there is if you're into Reddit, there is a huge group of people into Reddit. I think there's a subreddit called Experiencers with like 100,000 people or something. And I'm just curious if any of you guys are into Reddit and are part of that subreddit. And if so, let me know. All right, I need to do something here. Let me just check something while we're waiting to see on any questions. The quiet tip. Let me find out where I need to go. Hopefully I won't lose the chat here. But I need to do something real quick. And then I will let you know about it just before I go. There's a favor of you guys that I am going to ask before I go. And it's getting close. If I can fix this. There it is. Alrighty, let me see if the chat's there. It's still there. I think I'm still here. We'll see. Nope. Yes, no. Let me look straight. I think I'm still here. I hope I'm still here. Am I still here? Am I still in the chat? I had to switch out for a second. All right, I'm still here. Great. I'll ask you guys a favor before I go. Oh, we forgot that people wanted to see Mika today. We forgot all about that. Here she is. Mika she's been here the whole podcast. Mika, I'm trying to get her comfortable. And she was just hanging down on the floor beside us. I'm trying to get my headphones unstuck from Mika. She's just been laying down on the floor. And again, if you saw that video, you see where Mika hangs out on the floor behind us. And she's here. Is she gonna wait? I'll tell you one thing about me. In our neighborhood, there are foxes, and we live in Texas, and we kind of live like in a neighborhood, kind of a little bit away from the city. And I've seen it behind my house. There's a fox out there, and I'm hoping that it'll be a friendly fox. There is obviously we all watch videos, and sometimes in the middle of editing or something, I take a break and I'll open up my feed, and there's Finnegan the fox. And those are some of the videos I watch, this fox. And if you watch it, it's so cool the way that the foxes, when they pet the fox and the high-pitched voices they have, it's so much fun. And I'm hoping the fox that lives behind my house will become a friend, and I can make videos with the fox. That'd be so cool. Dr. Jeffrey Long, that's him, yes. Petey Pete is correct on that. Pete, thank you, Pete. Yes, Dr. Jeffrey Long. And I think Dr. Bruce Grayson has something. He has his like, I haven't read it. I need to read that. But he has his own thing of like, I don't know, the 10 things or the 12 things that decide what is what you need to have to be considered an NDE. And I guess if you're at the academic level and you're trying to do research, and when you're doing research, you got to define, what is an NDE and what isn't. And so they're, a little bit more strict on their decision making than I am. Yes, Fox. We were kind of concerned about that too. About maybe we watch out for Mika. We even have like those. We have what they call those vultures, turkey vultures, where the big birds that eat dead animals. And we get worried about that for Mika too, because they could just pick her up and fly away with her. So we have to kind of keep an eye on her. She's getting sleepy, maybe, isn't she? I'm trying to get her to look at the camera. There she is. Maybe she'll get sleepy. See, there she goes, and she'll fall asleep. She'll fall asleep on camera. Teach her karate. She likes to exercise. When we do and that's another thing we do on YouTube, is we do the Tabata exercises. And she comes and jumps around and plays while we're doing that too. Absolutely watch out for her, for owls, foxes, etc., etc. So I wonder, I wonder if Leslie Kings is going to be coming tonight or not. What breed is she? She is part Maltese and part Yorkie. So they call them Morkies. But she's the sweetest little thing, and I do think she's a gift from God. One of my guests told me that she was a gift from God. And so she's chill. Maybe we'll get a cat too. My son wants a cat, and and I don't know if did you guys see the video with the cat, with the woman that, what did she do with cats? It was probably about a month or two ago. I forgot about that one, but she believes that cats choose you. So I'm just waiting when a cat chooses our family, and maybe she or he will come live with us. But we haven't had a cat yet. She's a little Yoda. Yes, she is. That's funny. Someone's gonna send us a Yoda. There's one of our audience. I don't know if she's here or not. If you're here, it should be here. One of our audience said that she wanted to give us. She crochets or knits Yodas, little Yodas. They're cool. And she asked me if I'd like one, and I said yes. So I'll show it to you. We actually got this the other day. Sue Frederick, which was a guest of mine not too long ago, she sent us this really cool angel. And it's heavy too. It's made out of stone. Kind of looks like, it's not, is it? What do you think it is? It's heavy though, but it's really nice. It's cool. And so if you're watching, Sue, thank you again for this. All right, well, we'll see if Leslie's going to be here. We're just waiting on Leslie. If you have any questions, we got 5 minutes left. Have you ever seen an ET in Texas? Chris, after having John Martin on a couple times, I have decided to take my guitar out and play and project my playing into the cosmos and see if I can see an ET like he has. And once I saw something I was unsure of, and a second time I saw a shooting star. And it's about to start warming up again. So I'm going to start going on my patio at nighttime and keep doing it and see what happens. Hopefully something will stop by. And I just saw that. It reminded me, my Bigfoot teacher is there. Where is she? That's the name, my Bigfoot teacher. There she is. I don't know if you guys saw that, and I think she's going to draw me one. There was the guest that I'd had that sees people's spirit guides, and she was drawing them, and she has amazing artwork. And she told me that my spirit guide, one of them is Bigfoot or a Sasquatch. She said I have 3 of them, and another one she saw was a satyr, I think is what she described it. It's like a half man, half goat or something. But she said that she was going to draw it for me and send me one. So once I get it, I'll show it to you. But I thought about that when I saw my Bigfoot teacher. Oops, uh-oh. There we go. Accidentally knocked it out. I have to have 2 different headphones. As you see, if you saw in that video, I have this device here that puts the music, some music back into the podcast like this. So I have to have a headphone for that and then a headphone to hear the guests. And by the way, next Saturday night, is it next Saturday night? Yeah, next Saturday night, I'm going to have Elizabeth Brooke Meyer, who was on not too long ago, and she has some other stuff that she has to tell me. So I said, and little things, so we have her for 30 minutes. And Vicky Gold Ganesh wrote to me and sent me, he has seen a UFO and filmed it with his camera. And we're gonna talk about it and look at his UFO footage. Now, I'm sure many people here all know Vicky, but Vicky claims to be some sort of hybrid or something that's going on with him, where he has genetic changing, where he has both male and female DNA. But I think it's going to be fascinating. We'll talk about, he'll show us his video that he took with his phone of the UFO. I've seen part of it. What?
Will she perform?
I don't know if she'll be perform or not. I'm sure she would like to. But we haven't seen him in a while. It's been a few months, couple months or so. And he wrote to me, I don't know, yesterday or today. And I said, yeah, are you still coming on next Saturday? And he said, yes. So we'll be seeing his UFO together. Kathleen, my email address should be below in the description. Let me see if I look at the description below here. Yeah, it says if you'd like to be a guest, please email me at. And so that is there. If you would like to send that to me. There you have it. Okay, it's 8:59. Universe Man. There was one guest that I had a long time ago, and he described an NDE, and he said, well, the guest said this. He basically said that if you get NDEs, there are things. Let me kind of rephrase myself. The guest said that there are things that happen in NDEs that the NDEers will not tell anybody publicly, but they will tell each other privately. They'll confirm it with each other. And this was a man from Oregon. I think he's been out there now. I can't remember his name, but he's starting to get out there. And we talked about something along those lines. Where was that question that we had? Is anybody up talking about sex in their life review? So we kind of talked about that. I'll just leave it at that. And anyways, I started asking people because he said that, and I thought it was a great question. Well, is there anything that anything else that happened to your NDE that you've never told anybody except other NDEers that you keep private. And at the time I started asking that question around the time that we had that guest on. And I had some people say no, and I had one or two that said yes, and I'm not going to say anything. So, and people didn't like me asking that question anymore, so I stopped asking the question. I got some feedback in the comments about asking that question, and they didn't like me asking that question, so I stopped. I think they said it was cringy. So anyways, that was on that. I wish I could remember that guy's name. It's a guy, I think his name is Bill. Maybe his name's Bill, maybe not. I know there's Bill Vandenbush. If you've seen him, he's got a great story. I think that's Bill Vandenbush has an amazing story. He was in the Vietnam War, and he was in a place where he got bombed, I think, by us, actually, and he had an NDE and died, and they told him, you're going to come back. He got up from being bombed and had shrapnel and blew out his eye and all this stuff. He got up and started walking back to base or whatever during the war, and this guy the enemy started shooting him and shot him like 5 times, and he didn't die. And I think the enemy was shocked that he kept shooting him and it wasn't killing the guy, and he turned around and started shooting him. It's amazing that he just had all that damage to his body and kept going. But he has a cool and great story. And I think he doesn't have an eye, and he puts in like a fake eye, and he lives in Seattle, and I think he puts a Seattle Seahawk eyeball he's got. If not, I don't know what he has anymore, but I'm pretty sure he had that at one time. But that's him. I'm pretty sure that's Bill Vandenbush. And the other guy, let me see if I can find that guy. I think his name is Bill. And if I put Jeff Mara podcast, I could spell podcast properly. That would probably be right. Oh, I'm not even in YouTube there, darn it. I have a feeling then that I guess Leslie isn't going to show. Let me just search one more for you real quick and see if I can find this guy. And you guys can watch that one. If it'll even come up, which I don't even know if it will. Oh, there it is. Well, here's his name. His name is Bill Leston. That's him. I see him on someone else's, but if you look at mine, Bill Leston. Okay, here he is. Fireman had an NDE experience and saw elf-like entities. It was 3 years ago. William J. Leston, number 95. That's how old that one is. And I'm pretty sure this is the guy that talks about that. So I will put a link to that in the video description. Where is that? Where are we? There we are. Can I get to that? Why can't I post that? I don't know if I have a favorite guest, to tell you honestly. Sure, it's just you. You are my favorite guest of all time. So if you want to see that, there's the question. There's the answer. All right, so he's not here. I guess Leslie's not here. We're 5 minutes into overtime, so I am going to call it a night. But before I go, as I have put him up before, I am... Let's see if I can get this video so I can give it to you. Before I go, I'm working on my other channels. Hopefully this will work out. In particular, our cooking channel. So every day we're trying to put up a cooking video once a week doing something. I'm trying to revitalize that one and get it going again. And so since we're always home cooking most of the time, well, not always, but most of the time we're at home, we're either editing, cooking, or doing videos or something here around the house, we shoot video. And so if you guys would do me a great favor and go watch this right now, I would really appreciate it. It's here in the chat. I just put it there. And if for some reason it doesn't work, if you go down in the description, it says Jeff Mara Kitchen or something. And if you click there, Jeff Mara Cooking, that's where it is. Otherwise, that's it, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with us this weekend. We appreciate you. We love you. We will see you next weekend.